Basketball Talk Pro. Before we get started on the subject, it's my cat back there. Before we get started on the subject, I'd just like to invite you to contact me if there's something you would like me to talk about or get information, whatever interests you. I would rather have that than me just talking to you about the things I want to talk about. So don't be afraid. My phone number is 440-346-0037. I think it's on the email you get, and also my email address is there. You can contact me either way. Please do that. It would really help me to focus on my work on what you want. Well, today, as the title mentioned to you, Sacred Hoops. Sacred Hoops is the name of a book written by Phil Jackson. I'd advise you to buy this book. Don't buy the Kindle version. Buy the paperback, $11, and you will never spend $11 or $100 that are better spent for your coaching career. There's just a ton of basketball wisdom in this book, and personal wisdom. And we're going to go over that today, because I think it's important for you to hear some of these things. Briefly, I want to just give you a little bit of Phil Jackson's background up to the time that we go to the book, and I'm going to read you some things that I think are very, very important. Phil and I went into the CBA the same year, so we saw a lot of each other over 3, 4, 5 years. The CBA at that time was a tough league for the coach. I started there. There was we drove in vans, and we didn't make any money, but it was a tremendous league. Great players, good referees. It was an NBA game. It was a development league at that time. So that's how he came into it. His first year of coaching was in the CBA. I, though, had been a college coach for 13 or 14 years, but the change from college to professional was so big, it took me a couple years just to get to the subtleties of it. Well, that's where this book picks up. Phil at the time was having some problems. In fact, he was not working, and he was getting a little bit disappointed. In fact, he was thinking about going to law school. And then one day he got a call from Jerry Krause with the Chicago Bulls. They were looking for an assistant, and they offered him the job. But when the day that they offered him the job in Chicago, he was going to sign up for unemployment in Montana. So then he went to Chicago, and that's where this story starts. The other thing you need to know about Phil is he's a very intellectual guy. His parents were both ministers, and he was brought up in a very religious atmosphere. He read a lot in that area. He is and was a big reader. And so he was into a lot of things in the spiritual end of his life. At the same time that he was seeking a lot of things in basketball, trying to come up with what he was looking for. And the book picks up there, and that's where I'm going to read some statements from it. The section I'm on, if you get the book, is the Tao of basketball. Tao Te Ching is a Chinese religion philosophy, somewhat like the Buddhist religion philosophy. They're both in that same area. Well, when he came to the NBA, he saw too the fact that it was a lot of pick and rolls on the side, a lot of individual play, and he did not want to coach. He was not, as he was reaching out to learn, he didn't want to coach that way. He felt there was a better way. Well, he ran into Tex Winter, who was also a assistant. But Tex really turned out to be his mentor in this situation. Tex had a different way of looking at the NBA game. Here's what Phil writes. I want you to know he wrote this book. He's written about 4 or 5 books. The answer in Tex Winter's mind was a continuous motion offense involving everybody on the floor. And that's what Phil was looking for. In the CBA, he ran the flex. But he was very good, even as a young coach, at getting his players to stay disciplined, but giving them the freedom, but kept them in a team game. So this is what Tex came up to while they were assistants talking back and forth. But eventually, after 1 year, the present coach, Collins, was not having a real good year, and they let him go, and they hired Phil Jackson. A very gutsy move by Jerry Krause at the time. Phil has this to say: listening to Tex describe his brainchild, which was at that time the triple post offense. That's what I ran my first 2 years in high school. He turned it to, he changed it to the triangle offense. Listen to Tex describe his brainchild. I realized that this was the missing link I had been searching for in the CBA. It was a more evolved version of the offense we'd run on the Knicks under Red Holtzman. And more to the point, it embodied Zen Christian attitude of selfless awareness. In essence, the system was a vehicle for integrating mind and body, sport and spirit, in a practical, down-to-earth form that anyone could learn. It was awareness in action. You can feel how Phil was moving into this spiritual area that I think, and I will never back down on this, was the difference between him and mediocrity. You can talk about Jordan, Kobe, all those things, the triangle and everything, but what put him in a different level of other coaches was his intellectualism and his spiritual life. He really was a spiritual, and is a spiritual person. The triangle offense is best described as a 5-man Tai Chi. In China, behind my apartment when I was there, I would go running in the morning, and these people would be out there, 20, 30 people in the park doing Tai Chi to music. It was beautiful to watch. These were ordinary people, not dancers. They were ordinary people, but they looked like dancing. And Phil saw that as how the body and the mind came together in this kind of what looked like a dance. It isn't, by the way, it's a martial arts. The point, he tells, he speaks about that a little bit. Then he gets into the offense itself, and you should be listening very carefully. The point is not to go head to head with the defense, but to toy with the defenders and trick them into overextending themselves. That means thinking and moving in unison as a group and being acutely aware at any given moment of what's happening on the floor. Executed properly, the system is virtually unstoppable because there are no set plays and the defense can't predict what's going to happen next. If the defense tries to prevent one move, the players will adjust instinctively and start another series of cuts and passes that often lead to a better shot. There are a lot of things in here that you hear from me too, I understand that. But again, he didn't copy me and I didn't copy him. This was his thinking in this book that he wrote in 1995 after he had won, I think, 2 or 3 championship with the Bulls. So let's go on to a little bit more. He wants to give you the 7 principles of a sound defense. Now, when Phil was on Basketball Talk Pro, he gave these to you. You can go back to when he spoke. He made a tremendous talk to you coaches. You should go back and hear it many, many times. But he talks about the 7 principles of a sound offense. I'm going to give them to you now. I'm not going to write them on the board. You've got to do this by listening and hearing what I'm saying, not just listening. Number 1, the offense must penetrate the defense. One of the first things we talk about. That's what we do when we pass to the wing in the Monk system and cut through. We're trying to get the penetration started into the defense. The offense must involve a full court game. Remember what it says here, full court game. He's not saying fast break, but that's part of it. But it's more than just a fast break. If you watch those teams play, and you should go back and see some of those games, they didn't really fast break. They pushed and flowed right into the triangle. And they did it so smoothly and easily that you could hardly, you took the defense just by surprise. It went so smoothly. The offense must provide proper spacing, obviously. Number 4, the offense must ensure player and ball movement with a purpose. Remember that. Number 5, the offense must provide strong rebounding position and good defensive balance on all shots. I mean, that goes against what they're doing in the NBA now, and a lot of colleges I see doing it. That is, don't rebound offensively. Very, very poor situation. That'll pass, like a lot of these trends do that aren't really good basketball. Number 6, the offense must give the player with the ball an opportunity to pass the ball to any of his teammates. So we talk about that in the rules to the Monk offense. Hold it 3 counts so you can see what your teammates are doing. And 7, and lastly, the offense must utilize the player's individual skills. Okay, I'm going to read now what he says about going on with the offense, because this is very big with him and separated him from other coaches. What appealed to me about the system was that it empowered everybody on the team by making them more involved in the offense and demanded that they put their individual needs second to those of the group. This is the struggle every leader faces, how to get members of the team who are driven by the quest for individual glory to give themselves over wholeheartedly to the group effort. In other words, how to teach them selflessness. Every player on your team, his first thought is about him. Don't kid yourself. You can say he's a good team player. That's good, if he really is. But the battle you fight, and we all fight, is that every player on your team wants to look good himself. He wants to be the star. Hard to get over that. You've got to be very cognizant of it at all times. One more thing I want to read to you, because it's so key in coaching, and listen to these words and hear what I'm saying. Learning that system, the triangle, is a demanding, often tedious process that takes years to master. The key is a repetitive series of drills that train the players on an experiential level as well as intellectual one to move, as Tex puts it, like 5 fingers on a hand. In that respect, the drills resemble Zen practice. After months of focusing intently on performing the drills in practice, the players begin to see, aha, this is how all the pieces fit together. They develop an intuitive feel for how their movements and those of everyone else on the floor are interconnected. And I think this paragraph is what, as coaches, sometimes are forgotten. The place that you have to make them team players is in practice. And those drills, that's why I say drills should always relate to what you're doing as a whole, so that the players are learning something and feeling something that fits into what you want them to do on the floor when the game starts. That's where you either make it or break it, coaches. What you do on that practice floor. You must learn how to coach in practice. That's the key thing in your success. And Phil says it right there. He and Tex Winter were great practice coaches. Tex Winter told me, we talked a lot, Tex and I did, because he liked to eat breakfast early and I did too. So we met up a lot at different times when we were either playing each other or summer league or whatever. And one thing he told me is that he said, you know, I don't even like to help coaches run our system. It isn't that I don't want them to have it, it's that they don't do what is necessary to make it work. They won't drill the players like it needs to be done in order for the system to work. Keep that in mind. I don't know what you're doing on offense or defense, but if you're failing, that's where to look right away, is how are you handling your drills and how are you coaching your drills and what kind of drills are you running. That's where practice comes in. Listen, for $11, get this book. There's more wisdom, basketball coaching wisdom, in this book than if you go to 30 clinics or listen to some of these other coaches that are on the internet who probably haven't won even half their games if they've even coached. This is the man that won 11 rings with 2 different teams using the exactly same system. This is big stuff. Get this book, read it, study it, live with it. Well, that's it for today. I'm glad that you watched, because I wanted to get every one of you to be involved in something like this book. Thanks. We'll see you next time.